My dad was half
happened?
Chinese and half Hawaiian, and my mother is Swedish.
Wow. Like Queen?
Singapore, Colin's wedding.
Have you by chance ever seen this film before? And if no, what are your first reactions to it?
Nope, I've never seen it or heard of it. The storyline doesn't really sound familiar to me.
It's attempting to tell Asian story. Actors, despite of being silent, was able to emote. I would say that the actors are not Asians. There can be one Asian, which is it looks like he's a servant. The main Tatsu tried to maintain his eyes to be Asian eyes. Filmmakers here in USA and trying to capture that beauty in their own limited interpretation. That's actually like the stereotype that this is the kind of painting, brush painting the Asians has. Supposed to be Asian can be a token Asian. When Tatsu was looking for telling everyone what happened, it's all white actors that came out wearing kimono.
I was listening to the music. It's supposed to be set in Japan. I'm listening, I'm like, hold on. I know the gong is used in Japan, but I'm also like, there are multiple kinds of gongs being used here. Sounds very familiar to what we use like in Southeast Asia, like in the Philippines and Indonesia, for example, like the kulintang. And I was like, huh? And then I also heard the erhu being played, which I know originated in China. And I was like, ooh, were they just throwing together random Asian instruments to like kind of make this like go?
The film that you just watched is called The Dragon Painter, and this came out in 1919. This is a silent romance film based on the novel The Dragon Painter, which was written by Mary McNeil Fenollosa. The plot revolves around Tatsu, who is a painter, and it's actually played by a Japanese actor, Sessue Hayakawa. At least that's their stage name. And you see in the beginning that he's really distraught. And that's mainly because he believes that his fiancée is a princess who's been captured by a dragon. He uses painting as a way to relieve his stress and also to almost remorse about his fiancée, who is actually his wife in real life.
Oh.
They are trying to find someone to carry out their lineage of painting. And you see later on, there is Kano Indara, which is actually a white actor, and his daughter is Umeko. Tatsu and Umeko fall in love. He no longer feels the distress. He found his fiance. Umeko, thinking that that's her duty now to regain Tatsu's painting abilities, she commits suicide so that Tatsu is able to carry out the lineage of her father.
With the information that you gave me, that Tatsu and his wife are the actors of this film. With the main character as Japanese themselves, it gives justice to the story. And also the element of harakiri there, where she has to feel for honor so that the continuity of the lineage.
I kind of figured there had to be at least one white actor in here because I was thinking about the time period. So 1919, I'm here like, okay, definitely like yellowfacing is happening. It was like hard for me to pick out like, okay, who is the white actor? Because I'm looking at like the makeup and I'm like, okay, they have some really good makeup artists because it is very hard to tell.
The actor you just saw, who is Tatsu, is Sessue Hayakawa, born in Chiba, Japan, June 1886. He's actually the first Asian actor that we see in Hollywood. He came over here out of frustration, rebellion to his life in Japan, having to be in the military, not doing well in the school system, or even finding a good job that his parents would like. So that's when he moved over to the US. He did gain a lot of popularity in Hollywood during the silent film era, which is in the 1910s to 1920s. And he is the first actor of Asian descent to achieve this popularity and actually has a lot of lead character roles. A lot of people characterize him as broodingly handsome, and around a lot of American women, he's also considered a heartthrob, but he's also typecasted to have villainous roles. The villainous roles work almost in his favor because it's sexually dominating roles. Despite a lot of racial discrimination happening in America around this time, he's actually one of the first male Asian sex symbols of Hollywood. Eventually, because of the anti-Japanese sentiment, Hayakawa does leave Hollywood in 1922, performs in Broadway, in Japan and Europe. So he doesn't stop performing or acting, but he did stop performing and acting over here in the US before he comes back to Hollywood later on in the 1930s. He is actually featured in over 80 films. 3 of the films that he's very well known for is The Cheat, The Dragon Painter, which you just saw, and also The Bridge on River Kwai.
No, I'm not familiar with them.
I have seen The Bridge of River Kwai. I cannot remember the movie though. And I think it's one of my art classes actually in high school or college.
Can you say that Hollywood casted well?
The racism that Second World War could have created affected the mentality of the mainstream media, which like if you say somebody, oh, he's really doing good and he's not even from here, he's Asian, why should they get the seat on the table?
We do know that he has a lot of lead roles. Hollywood or mainstream media makes Asian men look unattractive, unwanted.
I definitely can understand, in like mainstream media and Hollywood desexualizing Asian actors, particularly men, almost like making them like more effeminate, making us look more like submissive. With this actor, with Mr. Hayakawa, how come y'all made him like sexy AF?
So after the silent movie, there's less participation of Asian actors in Hollywood. Housekeeper, housemaid, home health aide, and of course a nurse. I really admire him breaking through all this. And also during the time when there's not much awareness about Asian, he can be taken as an exotic.
But then like as years go on, why do you have to make us look so bad? Like why y'all gotta be like that, Hollywood? Come on. You were doing so well. We were all rooting for you. You had one job. I think they probably started to prioritize like more white actors in films to play like Asian people as a sense of like, I think, was it promoting patriotism in the country? It's like we still need to keep doing better though.
Can you tell me if by chance you've seen this story plot before, or is this all new to you?
Yeah, for some reason the character's name Lotus Flower, it just sounds, there's something about it's very familiar. So I was like, where have I heard this character name before?
This is the 1922 Miss Saigon. Painful story. It's anti-Asian women. It shows the masculinity and power of the white man and the white girl. It's the whole story of Miss Saigon, where the child is taken and the fatalistic effect of I have to kill myself because I don't mean anything anymore. So that means Miss Saigon is a revival of all these stories. Colonization. And Miss Saigon is neo-colonization. It's a Vietnam War. This is like a stereotype that Asian women always has to be oppressed. And Asian women as a fetish because she's nice, gentle, and sweet. She's a nice pastime.
As I'm watching it, the only thing that like rings my head is colonization, colonizers. So I'm like, yes, the white man Asian woman couple.
I really lament this situation because this is still happening right now in the story of the mail order brides and all other fetishism. Well, the story itself is very poetic. the woman character of that aunties trying to warn her. That means this is not a new story. The child is very symbolic because this is a child now that is half breed and the product of colonization. Honest's love of an Asian woman as a filler to the gap, being a lonely man somewhere in Asia. And of course, up to now, Asian women is always looking very much adored.
So the film that you just saw is The Toll of the Sea, and it came out in 1922, and it's another silent romance film. Plot goes that in 1919, a young Chinese woman named Lotus Flower, who's played by May Wong, sees an unconscious man floating in the water and quickly gets help for him. The American man that you see is Alan Carver, to fall in love, and then he tells Lotus Flower he's going to marry her. The aunties that you see are like, no, don't do that. He's not going to hold to what he says. Lotus Flower does not listen to them and continues to move forward with marrying Carver. So while all this is happening, Carver is at home, has a new wife over there, and Lotus Flower gives birth to their son, who she names Alan as well because of their father. Alan eventually comes to visit China with his American wife, Elsie. Lotus Flower knows of this and she's disheartened by everything. She tells Carver that Alan is actually their American neighbor's child, but tells Elsie this is actually her and Carver's son. But in order for the son to have a good life, she knows that she has to give her son away to father and Elsie. They go back to America, but you'll see at the last title sub, OC, now that life has been emptied, I come to pay my great debt to you. And then we see the sun setting over the horizon, and this implies that Lotus Flower has committed suicide.
It's just a fatalistic end of this story and the story of where the woman has to commit suicide.
Personally, I didn't know who May Wong was until like maybe a year or two ago. And the thing I heard, like, she had the role as Lotus Flower, and I think that's where like I made the connection in my brain. And if I remember correctly, she's also one of the first Asian actresses in Hollywood as well, if not the first.
So May Wong is the first female Asian American actor to be in Hollywood, born on January 1905 in Los Angeles, California. And then she passed away February 1961 in Santa Monica, California, due to a heart attack. While she was growing up, her neighborhood was often used for filming, and she would stumble upon the sets from time to time and imagine herself as an actor. Eventually, she does become an actor herself. She drops out of high school. First major role is The Toll of the Sea. And the film did really well with the public. It gained her a lot of popularity, although it was based on very stereotypical Asian aspects. She isn't provided a lot of romantic roles due to the fact that at this time in America, there were laws preventing interracial marriages. Also, like Hayakawa, she did leave for Europe in the late 1920s due to the frustration and the lack of roles she was receiving. Even though she did really well in The Toll of the Sea, she's often in villainous characters, which for her didn't work out the same way as Hayakawa. She wasn't known as, oh, the sexy villain. She was known as an evil Asian woman. She is also the first Asian American woman to be awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Oh,
really?
There's a famous quote that she has that her actual death, she's so used to it because there's so many characters that she's played where she dies. In a lot of the intertitle cards, did you realize a lot of the times when it was her character speaking, a lot of it was written in broken English?
Mm-hmm. I can see why they did it, but I'm also like, y'all didn't have to make it like that.
At this time, it helped Hollywood to also portray their characters in the way they wanted to. In this sense, they did take away the actor's voice.
You are seen as the other, always. Yeah, it's still the racism that exists. Asia is a big continent. It can get us anytime. I have undergone that kind of racism in a small theater. And this is in 1995. That's now. So how much more during the time of May Wong?